Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm really excited to be here today and to helping you guys answer questions on how to break into medical device sales. It's absolutely my favorite. It's what I love to do the most. But I always love learning a little bit more about you guys. So if anyone wants to put in the chat where you guys are from, that always is most fun for me to just see where you guys are from. A lot of times we get people from all over. We've had people from Canada. We've had people from all over the United States, Florida. I'm currently in Arizona where it's finally dropped under 100 degrees. But it's always fun to get to see where you guys are from. And I'm really excited about today's webinar. I'm really excited about just sharing knowledge, sharing advice to you all on how to break into medical device sales. Just last week, we got 5 people hired. So we got a post about that just to get you an idea. We got people who are anywhere from the ages of 23 right out of college and all the way to above 30. We just had a mom who has 3 kids, got hired with Baxter. So it's a lot of fun for us to continuously help people. You might have seen last week or even earlier this week that we just got a nurse hired with a great company at over $180,000. Their base was $130,000. And it's a lot of fun being able to help people not only break into this industry and break into medical device sales, but also know exactly what to do so they don't have to start at what we talk about, like the $60,000, right? And had a fun time going to dinner last night, hanging out with a couple of the companies that we're partnered with, and actually a couple that would like to partner with us. And it was a lot of fun just getting to hear about them and what's going on in the space. But it was even more fun when they were like, hey, what are you guys doing? And they're like, oh, you guys are just like a boot camp. You help people break into medical device sales. And then they were learning about us and they're like, hey, we would like to continue that conversation. So why I share all of that with you all is medical device sales is alive and well. It is extremely possible to break into medical device sales. And we are excited, so excited to help you guys go through that. And this is going to be a Q&A where you guys are going to be putting your questions. The one thing I'll just tell you is if you guys do have questions about medical device sales, just don't start putting them in the comment section, because at the end of this, we will open it up and this will be just a live Q&A so I can answer all of your questions and want to make sure that I can answer anybody's questions that you have. So it's all about providing value and helping you guys break into medical device sales. As literally, I do this every single day. Our team does this every single day. We are now partnered with medical device companies, so we help them find top tier talent, which is a lot of fun, and I'm very grateful and thankful. And so want to continue to help you guys break into medical device sales, not only change your life, but change other people's lives, because you are in an industry that's making a difference and selling a product that's going to make a difference. And so just want to go into there. And then lastly, if you do it the right way, you are coming in where, again, just understand the average medical device sales rep makes over $170,000. So by just being in this industry, you'll be in the top 10% of Americans. I think one of the things that I can just share, if you guys like podcast, we did a podcast with Justin Marshall, who's been at Medtronic he's a veteran at Medtronic for over 10 years. And what I would just tell you guys is go watch that. But he talked about once he got into Medtronic, he knew his life changed because he got in with a great company. So just want you guys to know that. But for us, what we're going to go into is a little bit of just who I am. And then we're going to go actually in on how you can break into medical device sales and actually get in at over 6 figures. And like I said, if you guys have questions, start putting them in the chat, in the comments, and I can go and have those at the end. And we will make sure to answer all of your guys' questions about breaking into medical device sales or what the process is or any of that. So number one thing is, who am I? So if you don't know who I am, just to give you a little bit of background, my name is Jacob McLaughlin. I'm originally from Iowa. I moved out here about 7 years ago, wanting to break into medical, or actually wanting to just get into fitness. I did fitness for about 4 years, and then I wanted to break into medical device sales. And then from there, I ended up reaching out to a bunch of people wanting to break into medical device sales and ended up getting 4 job offers. After those 4 job offers, I ended up taking a full line rep role with Medtronic. I then from there took the lowest performing territory in the nation as a full line rep to top 10 my first year. And then from there, we were able to take that and get headhunted, go into a regional sales manager role where I documented again that whole journey, showed what it was like to work for a medtech startup out of the UK. And then I ran the Western United States. And while I was doing that, I also was sharing that journey with everybody. And then we were able to grow that territory from $0 to $800,000 in about 18 months. And then after about helping over 2,000 people, we decided to go full time on this, continuing to help people break into medical device sales. And now that's what I do every single day, is help people break into medical device sales. The fun thing about what we do is our average person gets in about 8.5 weeks at about $105,000, and just transparently just ran our new numbers. The last 50 people we've gotten placed, their average was more closer to 113. So numbers will be changing here in the future because we like to be proactive. We like to show recent stats, not just what it was. So we're always trying to be breathable and as transparent as possible. But that's who I am. Why you can listen to me is we work with med device companies, have contracts with medical device companies. We help get them top tier talent, and we've helped over 2,000 people break into medical device sales. It's what I do every single day. And so it's a lot of fun, even right now, getting text messages from our people that are interviewing with companies such as Intuitive, Stryker, Medtronic, et cetera. So that's what we do. But we're going to get into it a little bit more. So where do I start if you want to break into medical device sales? So the one thing I would just tell you guys is that you need to understand what medical device sales really is and what this industry really can provide for people. And what I mean by that is that, again, you have to understand you're being the top 10% of Americans financially just being in this industry. And so most people don't understand that it's 5 to 7 interviews, 6 to 12 weeks long, 500 plus people, that it's extremely competitive. By just coming into the industry financially, as long as you stay in the industry, you will be in the top earners of Americans. And so it's an extremely competitive industry. And then just understand there's a lot of different divisions inside of medical device sales. Some you could be inside the OR, others you might be outside of the OR. I've had positions where I was in surgeries, coaching surgeons and helping them and helping the staff. And then I've also held roles where I didn't go in the OR, but I was helping residents and helping future surgeons do training and be able to actually go into like pig labs and other different processes to help surgeons and future surgeons practice their skills. So just understand medical device sales, med tech, this world is so broad. And I think that's one thing that people just need to understand. But you also need to understand that it is extremely, extremely competitive. And that's why we always talk about why applying isn't going to be enough for you all. So the most common thing that people do, and that's the biggest mistake that I see, is they treat this like any other interview process. They feel like, hey, I've got a job for $60,000 or $80,000 doing something else. And so all I have to do is just apply and then I'll get a job. Especially my nurses. I always just put a shout out to my nurses. Most of the time, as long as you have a heartbeat and a certification, you will have a job, as long as you can also hold a little bit of a conversation. And just understand in medical device sales, that is nothing close to this. You just have to understand medical device sales will literally tell you why you're not a good fit and why you shouldn't be in medical device sales. And so you have to understand that process. And so why applying isn't enough is because right now, a lot of the world has changed. Even if you guys notice AIs everywhere, a lot of companies have AI in their applying process. And so if you just put an application in, you'll see it. Even if you guys go look at LinkedIn, many times, if you see a job opening, there's 500 plus applications, right? One of the companies we actually just placed 2 people with, they posted on LinkedIn, and in 24 hours, they had over 225 people apply. And they said they just shut it off after 24 hours because they had so many applicants. And so what you have to understand is just applying isn't going to have you stand out. It's not going to have you being a person that everyone's like, oh yeah, we should just have them because they have a good resume, right? You have to understand, even if you have a great resume, we've talked to people who have sales experience, but even if you have sales experience, you're still on the bottom of the pile because they don't know who you are. Nobody knows anything. And then they're just looking at a piece of paper. And so now you're trying to bring yourself from a piece of paper to actually show why you're worth it. And then also just understand with AI during the recruiting and also applying process is they will scan your resume and they will see if it has numbers, if it has keywords, if it has phrases that they want to see. And if it doesn't, it can throw it out right away. And so that's why we tell people don't just be applying, because many times we've talked to people who have put in an application and within under an hour, they already received an email saying, hey, sorry, we went with another candidate. Or what also happens that many people don't know is you'll go put your application in and then they keep the job open. And then until they close it, AKA until they fill it, then once they put closed, they'll actually send out a mass email to everybody saying, hey, sorry, you didn't get selected, right? And the funny part is just to share a little story, is we've actually known somebody who was the candidate that got chose, that was the person who got the job, but they still got the rejection email just because they had applied throughout that process. So just have to understand every process is different, but I want to just tell you guys to go apply because of one other thing is we're all about being productive and not just busy. And by the time you're writing a new resume or you're switching up some things on a resume, plus making cover letters, it doesn't get you very far because you're going to be, let's just say you're able to go and you fill out all these applications. Well, it might take you an hour to fill out 2. And so it's just if you actually understood the right way to do things, in that same hour, you could be way more productive, get way more opportunities, get way more relationships, and actually be able to go break into medical device sales. So we're going to go into, you're not going to apply, but you are going to go into networking. So we're going to do networking. But again, if you guys have questions on anything I'm saying or have anything you would like answered, just put in the comments in the chat and we will make sure that we answer all your questions. So just understand with how do you network properly? So the biggest thing that you have to understand is you're going to be reaching out to a lot of different people, but many people like to go and send out a message that says, hey, I want to pick your brain, right? They want to just reach out to people and just ask for free advice. But when you're going through this process, you have to understand that there's so many different reps. There's so many different managers. They're busy. They worked really hard to get in this industry, and on a daily basis, or at least a weekly basis, they're getting hit up by a lot of people that are just asking for jobs or just asking to get their insights. And again, the most common phrase is, let me pick your brain. And I always just say, hey, please don't say that, because why we say that is you're coming into a professional industry, right? And where you can make a decent amount of money. So just understand that we want to make sure that you guys are in a good spot from there. And so when we're going through this process, we want to make sure that you guys know who to network with and how to network properly. So just understand we'll use LinkedIn, right? Which we'll talk in a little more detail about, but you'll be using LinkedIn, and then you're going to be connecting with people on LinkedIn. One fast way to, if you don't know where you want to go, is just search a couple of the companies, which we'll be able to give you guys a list here a little later for free, where it's just like maybe you're searching a medical device company. Maybe there's a certain one you like, Medtronic, Stryker, Zimmer, whatever they are, right? And you can go to them on LinkedIn, and then you can actually search people. The nice thing about LinkedIn is you can actually even search where they're located or if they're in sales. Like, you can look a lot into it and get very specific. And then from there, what we'll be able to do is go connect with them. The one thing I'll just always encourage you guys is most of you will go send a connection and then you guys type out a message. And I would highly recommend not doing that because it just wastes time. It takes time, right? You want to get through more connections. And then if somebody's connecting with you, they know, most likely if you're connecting with somebody in med device sales and you're outside of med device sales, they already have an inclination that you want to break into medical device sales. So then if they accept it, then from there, that's when you guys can actually go send a message, right? But just understand when we're networking with these people, the whole goal is, can we get them on a phone call, right? Many of you guys will ask a message of like, hey, can I pick your brain? Or, hey, can you give me some advice? And then you just keep it in the chat. But the whole goal is, can you get on a phone call with these people? And then once you get on a phone call with these people, I would really want you guys to focus on how are you going to be able to stand out on those calls? Because if you're doing this process and you're wanting to break into medical device sales, and everyone's going to be saying, hey, can you give me an update, or can you ask me, hey, I want a job? But what are you doing? So do you have questions prepared? Do you understand the mission statement and values? Do you understand what they sell? Do you understand what your, like, who their competitors are? And many people will come to me and they'll say, how do I do that? One reason and one way to do that really quickly, just so you guys know, you want to be getting on more phone calls with other people. But using AI, using like ChatGPT, it's very, very useful. You guys can actually go and just grab somebody's company. You can go grab a product, or you can go grab a company's page, go put it in there, and then just say, hey, tell me more about the products. Tell me more about the competitors. The one thing I would just always tell you is make sure that you're not only focused on everything it says, because it is AI. It's not always going to be 100% correct, but it allows you to actually network. It helps you be able to stand out. And what you guys have to understand, when we're helping people break in well over 6 figures, you need to make sure that you're being able to actually stand out throughout the whole process, right? You need to be able to make sure that you are the one who's going to be the person that they're like, wow, this person comes off a peer-to-peer. So everyone always asks me, what does that actually mean? It means that you ask really good questions. You understand what their products are. You understand a little bit about their day-to-day, and that's how you'll be able to learn. Again, if you guys are in your first 5, 10, 15 calls, first messaging, you might need to understand a little bit more of what the day-to-days look like. I would just highly recommend, we have a YouTube. You can go to New to Medical Device Sales and watch like a day in the life of a rep, of a manager. But you want to understand what the day-to-days are. And then once you understand kind of what their days are, you can ask a couple questions specific to their division. And then you can learn more about their products, their company, and ask really specific questions. So just understand, when we're trying to network, that is the whole focus, is we want to be able to help people break in, because you guys are asking really good questions. You are standing out. You're not just coming on these calls asking a question, just saying, what's your advice for me? Or can I pick your brain? Because you just have to understand, when you're getting on calls with these reps or managers, they're extremely busy. And if they're taking the time, they have to know that you put in a little time and that you're not coming and just asking for a handout. Because when you all get on a call and you just say, so what's your advice for me? And you don't have any questions prepared, it shows that you didn't even do any prep work. So that's what I would focus on. And then how are we going to utilize LinkedIn, right? So just understand, LinkedIn is going to be one of the biggest things that you use, right? So when we're using LinkedIn, it's your online resume. So what I would just tell you is, you need to have a good profile pic. You need to have a picture that's like very professional. Just understand, we've seen people like do selfies or take pictures maybe sometimes from weddings, which again, it's not always a big deal if it's from the wedding, but what I would highly encourage you all, if you just have one of the newest iPhones or even an iPhone, just get a well-lit area and then just go take a nice professional photo. Because again, it's going to be your online resume. Then from there, once you have good profile picture, go make sure you update your about section. Tell a little bit about yourself so somebody can get to know you a little more and know a little bit about your background, maybe a little bit about your personality, your drive, what drives you. And then from there, we can go into your resume, AKA your work experience. Just make sure you have that updated, because the very first thing that these reps, managers will do is, when you message them, is almost always go click on your profile just to see a little bit about you. And if you have a picture that's not very professional or low lit, if you don't have a lot of your stuff updated, they're just not going to take the time, because they're going to be like, well, I don't have time to get on with somebody who doesn't take it very serious. So that would be my encouragement on LinkedIn, and making sure that you guys are doing that. Then when it's also coming into the networking and the messaging, you guys need to make sure, like I said, that you always put a nice message that's going to try to get their attention, right? So one thing that we always seem to have a lot of success with is just do a quick introduction message of who you are. And then after you've introduced yourself, come in and ask to learn more about their advice or learn more about their experience inside of the industry. And then make sure to put your phone number. Because why we talk about why people need to put their phone number, it's because most people don't understand your whole job in medical device sales is make their life as easy as possible, right? You don't want to make a doctor's life harder than it has to be, or a surgeon's life harder once you're inside the industry. So when you are inside the industry, you want to make somebody's life easier. So it's the same thing here. If you all just reach out to somebody and say, hey, would you be willing to get on a phone call with me? And then they say yes, but you haven't provided your phone number, then they're going to have to come in, message you back. There's going to be a time. They might have had a time gap where they were driving or going in between cases or going in between hospitals, and they could have just gave you a call. But now what we always teach is you're actually making them do the work, right? So when you're making them do the work, now they might text you back and say, hey, yeah, I would love to help you. Or, hey, yeah, just send me your number. And now they're waiting on you. And so just to make your guys' self stand out and just have you be a top candidate and be like, oh yeah, is just by putting your phone number. Because reps and managers, a lot of times they're doing a lot of driving. They're doing a lot of different calls while they're working. And so just understand, if they get a message, so many times when I was a rep, this exact thing would happen, because they would listen to our podcast. And then I'm like, okay, I got 27 minutes to drive across town to the next place, so I'll just get on a phone call real quick. Or maybe I finished my day and then I was like, hey, I'll get on another call while I'm driving home. It's 45 minutes, right? I don't have any other cases to do. So just by adding your phone number, that will be extremely helpful. Again, guys, just after this, we will do a Q&A. I'll answer all your questions. So if you guys got questions, if you have any thoughts, put them in the comments and I'll make sure to answer all of those. But on top of that, with LinkedIn, many people just also don't understand how to use InMails, how to message people. What do you even say? And so hopefully that helps a little bit. But one thing I do want to touch on is InMails. So InMails is what we call as our safety net. So for example, if you're reaching out to people, talking to managers, talking to reps, and you want to have a little bit more information, have a little bit more of like backup is, let's just say you find out there's an opportunity, but you've already connected with the manager, but they haven't accepted it. If you have an InMail, which a lot of times you'll get like 3 to 5, they'll allow you to actually send messages, right? And you only get a couple. And then again, with LinkedIn Live or LinkedIn, not LinkedIn Live, LinkedIn Premium, you can usually send more, but it's for you guys to use at your discretion, but it can be very useful. And just understand with LinkedIn, it's going to be your best tool to be able to show that you're a serious candidate, for you to do the research, for you to do the connecting. Like I already said, is you can go to the medical device companies, learn more about the companies. You can then actually see people that work there. You then can go connect with those people. After you connect with those people, you can go send them messages. And then after you send the messages, you're just trying to get on enough phone calls. You want to be able to track that. And when you're on those phone calls, are you doing enough to have yourself stand out? And then going into my last little slide that I like to put together, and then I can answer any questions. So if you guys have any, just drop them in the chat, is how to stand out to land a 6-figure job. So it goes back to what I was saying earlier, is you want to just be really well put together. The number one thing that I continuously see from people who tell me that they're struggling, that they can't figure it out, is they try to treat this process like every other process they've ever done. And you just have to understand that this isn't like any other process. Like, you're going to be working with surgeons. You're going to be working with so many smart people. You're going to be working with so many individuals that actually are here for you guys to be the top in what they do. And you're supposed to be the expert there. And so you can't just be like, hey, I hope I can just wing it and it works out. So when that happens for you all, you have to make sure that, wow, this company is going to hire us for $100,000, $150,000, $200,000. How do you do that? You have to show yourself that you're a candidate worth that, right? How we just got somebody, which we posted last week or this week, at over $180,000 is because that company knew without a doubt that this person would go in, they would go perform, they would go have success, right? And how do we do that is by understanding the processes of the interview process, right? 5 to 7 interviews, 6 to 12 weeks long. Most people just don't understand that. For example, Medtronic, Stryker, J&J, they all do their interview processes way differently. And then what people don't understand is also they have a lot of different divisions inside of those companies. And each one of those divisions sometimes have their own process, right? It's not always. Sometimes it's a general company, but sometimes we'll see even certain divisions. For example, like a Stryker might have different Gallups for each different division. So you just have to understand each company's a little different throughout the whole entire process. And so if you want to stand out, first off, you need to understand what the process could look like. So you know the difference between interviews 1 or 5 or 7 or which one it is, and then how to prepare for that. And then what the next steps are, so you can know how to close, how to go in and ask the next question. So you can make sure that you're being in sales and you're making sure that you can move on to the next round. But then it's also going to go into, like we always talk about, the preparation. Like, what have you done? What have you put together? What do you know? Right? Most people come into a job just looking to learn and just say, hey, as long as you think I'm good, take me. But what you actually have to do is flip it, especially if you want to come in at over 6 figures. And you have to make sure that it's going to be mutual. It's going to be, they're choosing you, you're choosing them. Many of our people are normally in multiple different medical device sales interviews. And the reason that is because, again, A, showing them the right ways and having them be able to stand out. But number 2, throughout that process, we're also going to be making sure that they stand out and that they can speed up processes, because medical device companies, here's the biggest thing, is they all want top tier talent. And so if you're in top tier talent and you're talking to a lot of companies and you have opportunities, that shows that you're desirable. Compared to a mistake that we see with many people is they say, oh, I'm only going to try to interview with this one company because I really like them and that's who I'm just going to focus on. But why that's a challenge is because then all your eggs are in one basket, number one, and then you're waiting on that company. And what you have to understand is what we're always teaching our people is like, do the job to get the job, right? You have to understand the job duties, what you're going to be doing. And no job in medical device sales, normally, are you going to just be with one account, right? Maybe if you're a clinical or you're set up as an on-site specialist and you just focus on that account, yes. But if you're an actual rep, you're in doing sales, like you're not going to just have one. You need to be able to juggle. Like a lot of people are going to have anywhere from 10, 15, 30 plus accounts. And so you need to be able to go throughout that process. So that's what we want you guys to focus on, is how are you showing throughout the process that you're going to be a great fit? Because again, most people just say they're talking to another company, or they just say that they will do well in the process, or they'll do well once they get a job. But what medical device companies especially are looking for is, how do we actually have you guys stand out throughout this process? And how do we know for sure that when we hire this person, that they're going to come in and have success? So that's what I want you guys to think about as we go through this process, because the biggest thing with you guys and everything that you want is on the other side of just understanding the knowledge. And so that would be a big thing that I want you guys to think about, is medical device sales is an absolutely amazing career. It does a lot for a lot of people, and not only the reps, but also the patients. And so you're able to have such a big impact. But my biggest mistake that I watch continuously, time and time again, is watching people think that it's like, oh, I'll just treat this like every other job. So now I'm going to start answering some of your questions. So I'm really excited to go through that. So if you guys have questions, just drop them in the chat. I'm going to start going through them because it's always fun for me. So let's go with this one. So Grant, so with the upcoming holiday season, would you recommend adjusting any particular strategies in my job search? So Grant, awesome question. So this is what I would tell you. A lot of times, many companies are going to be pushing hard because it is Q4, right? Quarter four. But you guys also have to understand, not all companies run on a normal fiscal year, right? So some of the companies that I've worked with and been a part of, is their year started in May and got done in April. So even though, yes, it's at the end of the year, for most companies, they're pushing hard to do quarter four. So a lot of them might not be hiring right now because they're going to push through hard through quarter four. Then once quarter one comes in, they'll start looking at it. But you just have to bring in the piece that some companies actually aren't at the fiscal year. They're actually in the middle, or at the end of their year, they're in the middle of it. So they're actually looking to hire. So what I would just sit here and tell you is, keep pushing, because medical device sales companies are always hiring, right? Everyone tells me, oh, it stops in the holidays, and that's not true. I've literally got people hired at the end of December, right around Thanksgiving. Like, people are getting messages on the weekends from hiring managers. It's just, you have to understand, with it being the end of Q4, especially once you get to Thanksgiving and past, you just have to be more patient, because a lot of companies, reps, managers, if they're at companies that have their fiscal year ending, they may be done, or they may be focused on that. They're probably not getting back to you, but there still may be companies going out there and trying to hire during that time. So that's what I would tell you. And then lastly, I would just tell you is, during that time, it's a great time to be putting yourself on the bench and having people look at you, because a lot of companies either will pull the trigger at Q4 and be like, let's just get somebody, because they know that they're going to need someone. They've had such a good year. They know that they're going to need someone for Q1. And so they want to just get that going, get their training, because training takes 3-6 months for a rep to actually get up to speed a lot of times, or more. So they might start it early, or they will be saying, hey, we don't have anything right now, but January 1, we could have something. So that's where I would just tell you to focus on, because that's what's going to actually make the biggest difference for you. So hopefully that was helpful. If not, just ask some more questions. So let's go through a couple of others of these. So Christian, proud of everything you're doing. And also, it's impressive how many people you've helped. Talk 22 and as far. Oh, awesome. Well, appreciate the kind words. That's always super, super nice. I really like it. So let me just see a couple ones. So let's go with Ted. So Ted asked some questions. So he said, I think what you're saying is you shouldn't be as quite overly polite, rather be more pointed in the contact to ask better questions. The phone call makes sense and sounds like more of a sales progression, really. So Ted, yeah, you're 100% right. So again, when we're having you guys network and go through this process, we always want to focus on do the job to get the job. So you guys want to be polite. That's not us telling you guys to go be rude and go be mean to people. That won't work out for anybody, right? But what you have to understand is, they want to see Are you asking questions? Did you do pre-call planning? Did you actually map some out? Have you done any prospecting? Have you done any cold calling? AKA what you're on as a cold call, right? Cold calling. How do you handle yourself in a cold call? Like, what do you know? Then do you understand kind of what the next steps are? Again, that's what we're always teaching, how to do the job, to get the job, because if you have a really good networking call, it will lead into other opportunities, right? But that's what most people don't understand, because it's always like, well, I got on a call, what next? Well, just understand, if somebody does not like you, or you didn't ask questions, you did not impress them, you're not going to get anything. They won't recommend you to anybody, all that stuff. But if you're an absolute stud and they're like, oh my gosh, this person knows so much, or they came so prepared, you will stand out. And then a lot of times, just understand, we teach this to our people, because I got told this by a lot of mentors. People want to be part of a good thing. If you're showing that you're a good thing, and you will be a good thing, people want to be a part of that and help you out. So that's what I would just encourage you on that one. All right, let's go here. Where should you say the place to work in the US has the best market for med device? So just transparently, that's a very broad question. In the USA, like, we have, basically, if it's a massive city, you're going to have great opportunities. The easiest one I can just tell you, if you guys are looking for most opportunities, just think about where more people are, right? Miami, New York, LA, right? San Francisco, there's going to have it, but just transparently, they're in every city, right? That's the number one question I guess I get asked is, like, I just talked to someone today where they're like, hey, I live in a smaller city. Like, is it still able to happen? I'm like, yeah, for sure. Like, Minneapolis, Omaha, Nebraska, Austin, Texas, like, been able to help people in all of those places. It's just a smaller market, right? But as long as there's hospitals, and as long as there's med device companies going to those hospital and population, it's going to go. But one other piece of advice I think I can give you is, like, I was just talking to somebody that were in the Phoenix area. They were like, I want to live in California, but I want to do Palm Springs. And so what I had them do was I had them look up the populations. So for example, Palm Springs and Palm Desert out in California, they're combined, but if you combine their whole population, it's only about 100,000 people, compared to, if you did Phoenix, there's 1.6 million just in Phoenix, not the suburb, right? We just became the 5th largest city in America. So you just have to understand is they're probably not going to put someone in Palm Springs, Palm Desert, because the return on investment for the med device company doesn't make sense. But they would have somebody maybe from Phoenix, or they might have someone from LA or whatever it is, be able to go travel to that, or Vegas, right? Go down there and they have a territory. So that's what I would just tell you. So if you're looking at place, and then again, if you're looking at more of a company, people hate this answer, but it depends, because I can tell you, hey, do cardiac, but you might hate cardiac, right? Compared to, you might like ortho. So like, everyone's different on that one. Love the comments that are coming in, guys. All right. So how to transition into sales when you're a clinical support with master's education. So no RN, PA, MP, or any allied health. So Evan, great question. So here's the biggest thing that I can tell you guys to focus on. It just matters what the goal is, right? What I mean by that is, some people who are RN, PAs, MPs, they want to go into a clinical role, right? Like, they want to do medical device sales, but they want to go like clinical specialist, let's say, right? That's a different resume, and that's a different process compared to if you're saying, hey, I'm a hunter, I'm a person who loves sales, I want to go through this process, I want to make a difference. Then from there, what you just have to understand is, like, you're going to just run that process a little differently, but just understand you have great clinical background, right? We've helped people that sonographers, like people that come in from not a normal, like, speech language pathologist, or not PAs, not RNs, all that, physical therapists, that we're still able to get in those roles. It's just understanding the process. So what I would just tell you, Evan, is, like, you have a good background, as long as you have clinical, right? And you have a master's, that's great. Just understand that you're just going to have to be able to show what your clinical will be able to help with somebody. The last thing I'll just tell you is, love that you have a master's. The one thing I'll just tell you is, a lot of people who don't have experience will tell they have a master's. I maybe don't highlight that as much. Like, you have a master's, you're just telling me, so I understand that. But what I mean by that is, what we see a lot of times is somebody, if they don't have experience, they don't have what they're looking for, and they have a master's, those master's candidates usually will request more money, and then we watch them get kicked out faster. So just hopefully that can be a helpful piece of advice as you go through that. All right. Love the questions. Keep them coming, guys. If you got questions, I'm here to help you guys. That's the whole goal of this. So I love being able to help you guys. So Carlos, do you recommend niching down sectors early, or just being open? Carlos, great question, man. I love that question. So here's what our advice is. So many people will come to us and tell us I just want to do ortho, or I just want to do spine, or I just want to do ENT, right? Like, just like you said. So great. Our advice is right away, right? In the first, what we would call them the discovery phase, is talk to everybody, right? And why I always share that is because many people will tell me I have to do ortho. And I'm like, well, have you ever done it? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, you might hate it, right? And what's hard is you guys usually aren't actually going to be doing the job, right? You don't get to actually go do the job before you have it normally. You're going to be talking to people, asking about their experience, and then going through that process. And so what I would just say is everyone will tell me it's the divisions that they love or what they have to do, right? We get a lot of athletes who are like, I have to do sports medicine. And I'm like, okay, that sounds great. But from working with thousands of people, what I've learned is many people don't actually care about the division. And some of them don't even care about the company, but what they do care about is three things: work-life balance, how much money they can make, and what's their career trajectory, right? People don't want to go into a career or a job that's going to keep them stuck for years. They want to be able to know that they can grow within an industry or grow within their company. They want to know financially, if they're going to go and make this switch or they're going to do it, that they're going to financially be well off. And then lastly, work-life balance, because some people don't want to work 80 hours a week, right? So you just have to understand that. And then the last piece I would say that is you all just want to sell something that you feel meaningful, feel fulfilled, right? And that's the biggest thing. But what I would just tell you is you'll find that in all, right? Whether it's ortho, whether it's spine, whether it's ENT, whether it's capital, like as long as you believe in your product and you're selling something you truly, truly do believe in, it won't be a problem. You will be able to do that. So what I would just tell you, Carlos, is keep it broad as you start out. And then after you talk 15, 20, 30 plus people, you start having an idea of like, oh, I like this company because the people here at this culture is because this, right? Like you'll notice many companies have different cultures. And so you can go talk to reps from different companies and you'll get a big vibe of like, oh, maybe I'd like to work there. Maybe I wouldn't like to work there. Maybe that fits with my personality. Maybe that doesn't fit with my personality. And then you're just, again, learning. So best advice is start broad, learn, educate yourself, because again, you just don't want to put yourself where, like, again, I just talked to somebody the other day. They've been in the ortho space for 5 years, but they've never made more than $120,000. And then a company reached out to them that was not in ortho, and it was offering an OTE, an on-target earning of over $200,000. And they're like, is that possible? And I'm like, for sure, it's 100%. It's an advanced surgical. And the reason I share that is because most people in the ortho space will be like, well, that's not like, no, that's not possible. It would be hard. But if you're outside of the ortho space and you just were open and talking to people, that's why once you get in the industry, you should keep networking. You'll learn like, oh yeah, you go to cardiac, or you could go to advanced surgical. You could go into, like, I knew people in the GYN space doing more than that, right? So it's like, you just have to understand different companies, different divisions, and a lot of times you're going to find whatever's passionate about it. So hopefully that can be helpful. All right, Colleen, are there any guidelines that are specific for new grads with sales experience as far as timing, like how far in advance of start date do the companies hire? So Colleen, that's a great question. So really, that when they're looking for, like, when you're saying for timing, is there the start date? Like, it just depends. Like, for example, we get people hired, and some companies are like, hey, like, we've gotten people hired literally on a Thursday and they're flying them out to training on Sundays, because they're like, we need somebody. You're our person. Are you willing and open and committed? Sure. We'll grab a ticket. We'll get you. We've had other companies and other people who get hired, and then that they're not even starting for a month, right? Like, they get hired in October and their start date's not to the end of November. So it's really going to be dependent on the company. But I wouldn't say there's any guidelines for you. I would just say best practices is the earlier you start reaching out, networking, having conversations with companies, it's going to help you. If you have sales experience, it's going to help you, and it will make you better off, right? Like, you'll at least, when I say better off, you'll be at least able to talk to people and have that on your background. But you just have to understand for yourself is, when it comes to guidelines, I would just say normally our average person gets hired in about 8 weeks. We've seen people like on the daily, like I just talked to somebody who's been trying for 3 years. And if you don't understand the process, you don't understand what you're doing, it can be a challenging world. It's just going back to what I said, is most people don't understand interviews 1, 3, 5, and 7. They don't know that J&J, Medtronic, Stryker all do them different. They don't understand that the divisions might do them different. So they're always trying to guess. But when you understand the process, then you can speed up the process. Like we got Nick hired in 14 days, right? And then his start date was 2 weeks after that. So just so you guys know, hopefully that can be helpful for you, Colleen, is like, I wouldn't say that there's any guidelines because every company's different. Some companies are putting out feelers and be like, hey, we'll hire at the end of the quarter or in the new year, right? Like some of them are doing that right now. But then we also have people getting hired right now, and just talked to one of our people that are in an interview process, and literally they've moved the process that, again, usually takes months, and they're through a 4th round interview and they've only been talking to them for about 10 days. Because again, it's all about the need. They're in need of people. So that will go. If you guys still have questions, I still got some more, so I'm happy to answer them for you guys. But hopefully that helps, Colleen. And like, again, you guys can't ask too many. I'm always here, and if there's no silly questions. All right. Yeah, thanks for answering my question. Also, what do you see as the biggest advantage of working at a distributor or 1099 rep over a W-2 position? Great question. It's actually my favorite question when I talk to people. So there's pros and cons with both of them. And what you have to understand is there's no right answer. People are all different. And what I mean by that is if you're a W-2, most of the time W-2 is going to be safe. But when I say safe, hey, maybe they give you a salary, maybe they give you the commission, maybe they'll give you a car stipend, maybe they'll give you all of that aspect of it. Just understand from that piece of it, it's very great. It's awesome. There's a lot of advantage of it. Just if we're talking, I am not a CPA, go ask your tax professionals, but from my experience is you're going to get taxed more. Like if you guys don't know, commissions get taxed at a way different rate than anything else compared to if you're a 1099, AKA you would have like your own business. You actually can do write-offs, right? If you have a vehicle, you might be coming out of pocket for it. But for example, if you need a car to drive to the hospital to do your stuff, you can write that, and that's a tax write-off, and that's deductible, right? So I think there's that, number one. Number two, I think one of the biggest advantages of working at a 1099 position is it depends on the distributorship, but a lot of times with distributors, you can go pick up products and add them to your bag. So for example, let's go to the ortho space. Like I know people in the ortho space who carry all different brands. They could have Medtronic, they could have Stryker, they could have Zimmer, they could have ones that we haven't heard of. And what I mean by that is if you're, let's just say you're a Medtronic spine rep, you only can sell Medtronic spine, right? But if you're a 1099 rep and a distributor and you guys have a contract and you guys actually have Medtronic spine, you actually could have, let's just say, Medtronic spines and then be selling another company's plates or screws, right? And so what actually happens sometimes, and it's not always, but then maybe you can talk to a doctor and a doctor's like, well, I like this product from this company and this product from this company. And you almost, what I always share with people is you can almost become like the Amazon Prime for them. You can almost become like the Walmart. You can say, great, I can give you all of these pieces compared to if you're a rep with another company, they can only just give you what they have. So that's what I would just tell you. And then again, if you guys have other questions, write them down because I'm happy to answer them as we got a little more time. But then lastly, what I would just say is being a distributor, being a 1099, it's not for the faint of heart. What a lot of times we do see, not always, we did a podcast with Cade Cook. You guys can go watch that. We got him hired right as a distributor and he went and absolutely crushed it. But a lot of times what you see as a progression is normally people will go to a W-2 first, and then after some experience, then go to a 1099 so they can actually kind of understand the game, maybe have some relationships and go in that piece. But I think there's a lot of advantages. The one other thing I should mention is normally working with a distributor, if you're trying to get hired, it's usually a shorter process to get hired, a shorter interview process, right? So that's what a lot of people miss is like, again, working with the big corporate medical device companies that might have over 50 to 100,000 people, like they have rules, they have regulations, they have processes, they have what they have to do, and it can take longer. But if you're working with a distributor and trying to get hired, like it can go into everything that you absolutely need. But like they can get through everything in the next like 2 days, right? Because or the next 2 weeks, and it might take only 2 interviews, right? Because a lot of times there's a head of a distributor, aka the owner of it, and then they usually have people underneath them, and then 1 or 2 interviews they might go. Sometimes it can still take 5, but a lot of times it will do that. So there's that one piece. The one thing I would just tell you, maybe a disadvantage. There's a couple, but like one of the things I want everyone to think about is with a 1099 or a distributor for you all is with a 1099, what we see is distributors, we always help out. We actually help out a lot of them. We actually help recruit for a lot of distributors to help them. The training's iffy. And what I mean by that doesn't mean every distributor, because there's big companies that have training that's iffy. But what I mean by that is normally what you're going to see in a big W-2 company, they have a lot of money in their training. They send you to training for 1, 2, 3 weeks, and then they go from there. Compared to a lot of times in distributorships, it's kind of like we were just talking to one that we're helping hire for right now. And it was, we actually placed somebody there in about 12 months. They've actually gone from breaking in with no degree to making over 6 figures. And now they're like, hey, I've crushed it so much, we actually need an associate. I'm like, hey, that's amazing. So we're actually hiring for them. But then the challenge that comes in is they've never trained anybody, right? And then this distributorship doesn't have a proper training protocol of like, go through this training, know the competitors, know this aspect. And it's kind of a lot of times we see with distributors, it's kind of just like thrown to the wolves is the best way to say it is, hey, here's some information. Just do as I do, watch what I do, and repeat, right? Which is great. But the challenge with that is it's not replicatable. And then everybody learns different. Everybody's got a different learning style, right? Some people like visual, some people like audible, right? Some people, they're all different. So the one thing I would just say is you have to learn which distributors or which companies are good and which are going to have good training programs and which ones are going to actually help you. So hopefully that can be extremely helpful for you guys, because always want you guys to be able to help through the process when we go through that. And then one of the other things that I wanted to touch base on is like, we get this question a lot is how much travel is involved. And so a lot of times what we see with traveling in medical device sales, it's a big common concern. It always goes back to, it depends on your division. It depends on your company. It depends on your territory. And what I mean by that is there's some people, let's say for Phoenix, that will never leave Phoenix, that their territory is just Phoenix. But then like, for example, when I was at Medtronic, like I had a territory that is Phoenix and it was New Mexico, right? And I actually ended up getting all of Arizona and all New Mexico. And then eventually they wanted me to have Vegas, Arizona, New Mexico. And they used to have 3 reps doing that and they wanted me to do it. So I didn't end up doing that. But I share that is because I still had it, Arizona and New Mexico, and I mainly stayed in Phoenix. I might go down to Tucson every once in a while, like maybe once a month or once every 2 months. And then like same thing with going out to New Mexico, I would go out maybe once to every 6 weeks. If I needed to go more, there were sometimes I was there like 2 times in 2 weeks, but a lot of times it was dependent. But a lot of times I would try to be out there, once every 6 weeks, and I could be back same day. I could find a flight, it's 45 or it's an hour flight, leave early in the morning, get there, do some cases, fly back. So just depends. And then again, when I was regional manager running the Western United States, like I traveled a decent amount. But I should say this, that position was pretty fun for the fact of a lot of times it was remote, and then I would just travel and we would do conferences. And so, there'd be some months I never left Phoenix, but then there'd be some stretches that in 2 months I was on a plane pretty much every week, right? So it just depends on where you're at. But it really just matters what division you guys go into. So that's what I would just tell you as you go through this process. And then the one last thing I wanted to touch on is like, do you need a medical or a science background to break into medical device sales? And a lot of people will reach out to me and say, hey, Jacob, do I need this? And the common answer and the actual answer is no, you don't. This is what I would just tell you is for you guys is you are able to do medical device sales no matter what the background is. It's just if you have a business background, or like, again, we go see business management, or they go get a clinical background, aka let's just say you get a degree in science or physiology. That can always be helpful. But at the end of the day, what most of these medical device companies focus on is they just focus on having you guys get everything you want, for the fact of they just want to make sure you have the right requirements. So I'm now going to go post some things that I wanted to put for you guys to have helpful, because I really appreciate everything that you guys do. But the one thing that I want you guys to know is like everything I do is just, I want to help you guys. I want to be able to help you throughout this process. We get common questions, and so we've learned this, and so it's why we're putting this together. So one of the things that I've learned is a lot of people come to us and they don't know, like, hey, what's the actual medical device companies? Like, where should I go? Where do I actually need to get this? And so what I would tell you is, if we're going to put our information in here, and this is going to actually send you guys an email, so you guys can go and get connected with what's the medical device companies. We put hundreds of them in there. We can put them by big companies, small companies. So we just want to put a resource out there. So I just put it in the link. And so if you guys go click on it, you will be able to see it. And from there, if you guys just want to register, it'll actually help you in all of your aspects. And so you can go put that link. Again, it's just going to be us sending you a PDF. And then if not, you guys can always just chat on the chat that you got it, or you can let us know if you're not able to see it, and then we can send it to you separately so you guys can get that. So just always want you guys to know that. The one thing I would also just tell you guys is, again, we do this every single day. Some people just want to learn more about medical device sales. They also just want advice. I get people who reach out to me every single day of like, hey, I see your screenshots. I see the people that you've helped. I see all the testimonials on your page. Would you be able to just give me some guidance? Me and my team are always happy to jump on a call with you guys. And so I will drop that link here to where you guys can go and book a call with us. Because for us, the one thing I just want you guys to know is we're always happy to jump on a call with you guys. You just go to the apply now. And again, we will make sure to answer any of the questions that you have, because we want to make sure that we're here to help you guys throughout the process. And just understand, for us in our program, we make sure that we're very deciding on who's a good fit. And again, that's not to just say we only take anybody, but like we do make sure that we're focused on getting the best quality of candidates, because right now, just transparently, we have job postings over $100,000, $120,000 that we're working with med device companies on, and we want to make sure that we're getting really high quality candidates. But just understand, we do this because just want to help you guys, just want you all to have the most success. And for me, my biggest goal for you all is to break into medical device sales, be able to change your guys' life, change patients' lives. So again, you guys can go. The biggest thing is for me is I want you all to know that it's possible. It is possible to break into medical device sales. It is possible for everything that you guys do. I just talked to somebody today, and I'll share this, is I'm so pumped for this young man because I had a talk with him, and he was at the same place that I was about 6 years ago. And what many people don't understand is I moved out here with $1,200 to my name. I slept on an air mattress the first 6 months. I woke up on the ground because it had a hole in it, put peanut butter back, and I just got tired of being tired. And that's when I decided to get around people that were uplifting, that were looking at it. Was personal training. I ended up actually training a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners here in Scottsdale, which just helped me change my mindset, change where I'm at. And then I started investing in myself. I invested in my future. I invested into my skill set. And that's what I just want to just encourage everybody, is a lot of people don't invest into their skill sets because they think they already know it. And so the one thing I'll just say is I'll share this. I always just hope this can be helpful for you all. It's a mindset, one that truly changed my life. I made this for people just to help you guys change how you guys think and go through it, because what I realized is what was keeping me under $80,000, $100,000 literally had nothing to do with the people or anything. It actually had to do with my mindset, my beliefs, what I do. And what you guys just have to understand for us is how we're able to get people hired at so much and like such above six figures is because we have people who literally learn skills on how to also believe they're worth that much money. So I just want you all to know that I appreciate you guys. You guys can feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can reach out to our program. Like I said, our team is always happy. You guys can go schedule a call, because our whole goal is just to help you guys. And again, whether we can or can't help you, we'll make sure to get you guys free resources that will be able to help you no matter what. So you guys can just go to those links. You can book a call. You can get that program that I just offered. That is just a mindset one. It's just my little gift to hopefully it can help somebody. But just understand, my whole goal in medical device sales is to show you guys what's possible, to show you that it is, no matter your background, no matter what everyone else tells you, no matter what people say, no matter what else you see on LinkedIn. Like, we literally do this every single day. We get to meet with medical device companies, and I get to help people just like you. The only difference is they like to bet on themselves. They like to invest in themselves, and they want to get around a community and other people who want to change their lives. And we work with those people. So I just want you guys to know I'm excited to do the next one. But we're all here about adding value. And if there's anything we can do, we always will. But I just want you to know, keep going, keep being encouraging, be a light to other people. Know that you can make this possible. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.